A woman's attachment is power, and the world feels it even before she says a word. It's not about being cold. It's not about shutting down. It's not about pretending she doesn't care. It's about moving with a quiet confidence that says, I'm not afraid to lose anything that's not aligned with me. That kind of energy shifts a whole room. That kind of energy makes people rethink how they approach her. Because when a woman detaches, she's not disappearing, she's elevated. Detachment is strength built through lessons she didn't ask for but survived anyway. It's the wisdom of knowing what drains her and what feeds her. It's the realization that peace is more valuable than attention. See, a lot of people confuse detachment with distance. They think she's pulling away just to pull away. But the truth is deeper. She's choosing herself in a world that taught her to choose everyone else first. She's reclaiming space she used to give away too easily. And when she does that, she shifts from chasing validation to standing in her value. A woman who detaches doesn't waste energy trying to prove her worth. She doesn't argue for her spot. She doesn't fight to stay where she's not appreciated. She knows that anything forced ain't real, and anything real doesn't need convincing. Her power shows up in the way she stops responding to chaos, in the way she walks away from mixed signals, in the way she refuses to settle for the bare minimum. She knows she's not an option, she's a blessing, and blessings don't beg. People feel it when she pulls back. They notice when her energy shifts, but it's not to punish anyone. It's to protect herself. It's to pour into herself the way she's been pouring into others. She's not running from love. She's running from disrespect, confusion, inconsistency, and anything that costs her peace. She knows peace is priceless, and anybody who wants a place in her life has to bring something other than emotional noise. Detachment makes her rare, and rarity creates demand. Not the shallow kind, rooted in chasing what you can't have, but the deep kind that comes from recognizing true value. When she stops overgiving, people realize how much she was actually carrying. When she stops fixing everything, they see the stability she used to bring. When she stops explaining herself, they realize how much clarity she offered. Her absence teaches louder than her presence ever did. But here's the real truth. Detachment doesn't make her hard. It makes her honest. It forces her to be real with herself about what she feels, what she wants, and what she refuses to accept. It pushes her into her power. It teaches her emotional discipline, something most people lack. She doesn't react out of fear or urgency anymore. She responds out of awareness, out of intention, out of self-respect. And the world reacts to that. Men especially feel the shift, not because she's playing games, but because she's not playing at all. When she detaches, it requires them to meet her in a mature place. It forces them to step up because nothing about her energy says chase me. It says match me. And that's where a real connection starts, when both sides operate from value instead of insecurity. Her detachment challenges people to show who they truly are. The ones who only wanted convenience fall off. The ones who respected her from the beginning stay steady. The ones who were unsure suddenly understand what they stand to lose. Detachment exposes intentions effortlessly. She doesn't need to test anybody. She just needs to be true to herself, and the truth reveals everything else. A woman's attachment is powerful because it brings her back to her center. It returns her to herself. It reminds her that she is the prize, the peace, the presence, the energy that can't be replaced. When she detaches, she's not collapsing. She's rising. She's not hiding. She's healing. She's not giving up. She's leveling up. And once she reaches that level of self-worth, she becomes unstoppable. She moves with grace. She moves with intention. She moves with the kind of inner strength you can't buy, can't fake, can't replicate. That's why detachment hits different, because it's not an ending. It's a beginning, a new chapter, a better version of her, a stronger version of her, a woman who finally understands her power and isn't afraid to stand in it. Men respect a woman who can walk away more than a woman who chases approval. And that's a truth a lot of people don't want to face, because walking away takes strength. It takes knowing your value on a level where you don't need anybody to validate you. Approval chasing is easy. It's familiar. It's what the world teaches you. Be agreeable, be available, be whatever keeps the peace. But a woman who can walk away, she's moving from a different source. She's moving from self-respect, not fear, from clarity, not desperation. And that energy can't be ignored. See, when a woman chases approval, she tells the world she's okay with shrinking. She's okay with dimming her light just to make someone else comfortable. She's okay with trying to impress people who haven't even proven they deserve access to her. She bends, she compromises her standards. She tries to hold on to something even when it's obvious the situation is draining her. And the problem is, the more she gives, the less she gets. Not because she isn't worthy, but because humans rarely value what's always available. But a woman who can walk away, she's a different story. She's not pressed about losing what doesn't align. She's not afraid of creating space. She's not shaken at the idea of being alone. She knows she's not losing a blessing by walking, she's losing a distraction. She understands that peace is better than half love and self-worth is better than temporary attention. Her silence holds more weight than someone else's arguments. Her distance speaks louder than someone else's excuse. And men feel that. They feel it on a level they don't always admit out loud. A woman who can walk away sets a standard that demands respect. She's not out here competing with anyone. She's not running behind people hoping they'll choose her. She chooses herself. And when a man sees that, he steps differently. He knows she's not tied to him through fear or insecurity. She's there because she wants to be, and not because she needs to be. That alone changes the dynamic. A woman who can walk away teaches discipline without trying. She teaches boundaries without yelling. She teaches self-love without preaching. She becomes the proof that real love isn't about holding on. It's about choosing each other from a place of freedom, not fear. When she pulls back, a man has to confront who he really is. Is he stepping up? Is he growing? Is he giving what she gives? Or is he just comfortable with the version of her that overextends herself? Walking away isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's emotional intelligence. It's knowing that forcing something only delays the heartbreak. It's trusting that what's meant for her will never require her to lose herself. And that's the kind of mindset that demands respect, because people respect what respects itself. A woman who can walk away doesn't do it out of ego. She does it out of truth. She's not trying to punish anyone. She's protecting her spirit. She's protecting her peace. She's protecting the version of herself that took years to build. She knows she's the asset. She knows her presence brings value. She knows her energy elevates the room. And she refuses to give that away cheaply. What makes her powerful is that she's not attached to outcomes. She's not trying to force love. She's not trying to convince someone that she's worth staying for. She already knows her worth. She already knows her capacity to love deeply, support fully, and stand strong. If someone can't meet her there, she won't drag them. She'll release them with grace, with calm, with confidence. Because holding on to the wrong person only prevents the right one from stepping in. Men respect that kind of woman because she lives by the same principle most people pretend to understand. Value yourself first. She moves like someone who knows the difference between being wanted and being valued. She's not impressed by potential. She's looking for presence. She's not moved by words. She's looking at patterns. She's not clinging to hope. She's trusting alignment. And in the end, she wins. Because a woman who can walk away never loses anything real. She only loses what wasn't meant for her in the first place. She chooses herself, and that choice changes everything. She becomes a woman who doesn't chase approval. She attracts respect. Detachment forces a man to rise up because real value doesn't beg, it attracts. When a woman stops pouring energy into someone who's giving her half effort, everything shifts. She moves different. She talks different. She carries herself with calm confidence that says, I'm not chasing anything that's not choosing me. And that energy hits a man in a place he can't ignore. It calls him higher. It makes him look at himself and ask, am I showing up in a way that matches what she deserves? See, when a woman is overly available, always forgiving, always bending, always explaining her worth, a man gets comfortable, not because he's unappreciative, but because human nature gravitates toward ease. If she's always there, then the urgency fades. If she's always waiting, then the effort drops. Not because she's not valuable, but because constant access makes people forget the weight of what they hold. But when she detaches, everything becomes clear. Her silence speaks, her absence teaches, her distance creates a mirror that forces him to confront how he's been moving. Suddenly, the casual attitude doesn't feel so safe. The mixed signals don't feel as powerful. The complacency doesn't hit the same because he realizes he's dealing with someone who refuses to rely on potential. She wants presence. She wants consistency. She wants authenticity. And she's not afraid to step away until that shows up. Detachment is powerful because it isn't about punishing anyone. It's about protecting herself. She's not walking away to make him chase. She's walking away to honor what she brings. She understands that begging for effort tills attraction. Needing someone to step up only proves that one's stepping in the first place. When she pulls back, she's saying, I'm not investing where the return is disrespect. And that kind of self-discipline commands respect. A man who truly values her will feel that shift. Not in a panic way, but in a conscious way. He'll start thinking about the late replies he gave, the effort he withheld, the promises he made casually. He'll start realizing she wasn't asking for too much. She was asking for the bare minimum. Consistency, clarity, intention. When she detaches, it puts the responsibility back on him. It makes him decide whether he wants to elevate or evaporate. And that's the beauty of it. Detachment filters. The ones who weren't serious fall off effortlessly. The ones who aren't ready stop pretending. The ones who are only there for convenience fade on their own. But the one who values her, he steps into a different version of himself. He starts showing up with more intention, not out of fear, but out of recognition. Recognition that she is rare. Recognition that her presence added stability, peace, inspiration. Recognition that losing her is not an option he can afford. Detachment exposes motives without confrontation. She doesn't need to test anyone. She doesn't need to argue. She doesn't need to over-explain what bothers her. Her energy shift reveals everything. If he rises, he's real. If he fades, he was seasonal. Simple. Real value doesn't chase. It doesn't beg. It doesn't plead for someone to see it. It stands tall. It knows its worth. And that kind of value is magnetic. People can sense it. They gravitate toward it. When a woman detaches, she's not withholding love. She's refusing to waste it. She's not being difficult. She's being selective. She's not abandoning connection. She's abandoning self-sacrifice disguised as loyalty. What most men won't say out loud is this: a woman who can walk away, a woman who can detach, a woman who doesn't fold under emotional pressure is the woman they respect the most. Not because she's hard to get, but because she's hard to replace. Her strength forces them to be accountable. Her standards force them to evolve. Her self-respect forces them to show up with their best, not their leftovers. Detachment isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's the moment she decides that peace is more important than potential. That effort is more important than excuses. That alignment is more important than attachment. And when she moves with that mindset, she doesn't push away the right man. She motivates him. She inspires him. She challenges him to rise to the level where he deserves her. That's why detachment is powerful, because it's not about leaving someone behind. It's about elevating everyone involved. It's a silent reminder that real things don't need to be forced. They grow, they align, they rise. And a man who sees her value will rise every time. When a woman chooses herself, she becomes rare, and rarity increases desire. Not because she's trying to be exclusive, not because she's playing hard to get, but because choosing herself is a level of strength most people never reach. The world teaches women to give endlessly, to pour even when they're empty, to prove they're worthy by sacrificing their time, energy, and peace. So when a woman finally turns inward and says, I'm choosing me, that alone separates her from the crowd. That alone puts her in a category most people can't access. See, choosing herself isn't an act of selfishness. It's an act of healing. It's the moment she stops looking outward for validation and starts looking inward for direction. She's not trying to impress anyone. She's not trying to win approval. She's not out here trying to be the most agreeable or the most available. She's building herself. She's protecting her mind. She's guarding her energy like it's sacred because she finally understands it is. And when she moves like that, she becomes rare. Rare isn't about being unreachable. It's about being intentional. It means not letting anyone walk into a life without purpose. It means not entertaining someone's potential when their actions show otherwise. It means not giving her heart to someone who only wants her presence. It means raising her standards, not to make things harder, but to make her peace easier. A woman who chooses herself speaks a different language. Her confidence is quieter. Her energy is focused. Her boundaries are clear. She doesn't justify them. She doesn't apologize for them. She doesn't negotiate them. She knows what it cost her to get here. She knows how many versions of herself she had to outgrow. She knows the strength it took to stop shrinking to fit into places that never fit her spirit. When a woman chooses herself, she's not rejecting love. She's rejecting anything that looks like love but feels like confusion. She's not running from connection. She's running from the connections that require her to lose herself. She's not afraid of loneliness. She's afraid of being surrounded by people who drain her. And that kind of clarity is rare. People feel that. Men feel that. A woman who chooses herself becomes intriguing on a different level, not because she's mysterious, but because she's complete. She doesn't need someone to make her whole. She wants someone who can match her while she remains whole. That alone separates her from the many who chase, cling, or settle. Desire grows because value is recognized. And a woman who chooses herself becomes valuable in a way that can't be faked. You can't imitate peace. You can't copy discipline. You can't pretend to have healed energy. It radiates. It speaks for her before she even opens her mouth. She becomes a woman people think about long after she leaves the room. The woman whose presence feels refreshing because she's not operating from fear. The woman whose absence is felt deeply because it's not easy to replace someone who carries herself with self-awareness and grace. Choosing herself also makes her more selective. She's not impressed by surface-level gestures. She's looking deeper. She pays attention to character, consistency, honesty, intention. She listens to what people show, not what they say. And she doesn't settle for anything that disrupts her growth. That's what makes her rare. A woman like that isn't easily swayed. She's not moved by pressure. She's not attracted to chaos. She doesn't fall for someone's potential while ignoring reality. She sees things clearly. She moves with purpose. And that wisdom makes her presence feel like a blessing, not because she's perfect, but because she's real. And rarity creates desire, not the shallow kind that wants possession, but the deep kind that wants partnership. A man who recognizes her worth knows he has to show up differently. He knows she's not chasing. He knows she's not settling. He knows she has options, but still chooses peace over attention. That alone demands respect. That alone inspires effort. When a woman chooses herself, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she's hard to get, but because she's hard to replace. A woman who knows her value, protects her energy, and honors her own growth is the rarest kind of woman. And rarity changes everything. It amplifies her worth, elevates her presence, and increases the desire to meet her where she stands, not pull her where she left. Detachment isn't coldness, it's boundaries, self-worth, and emotional discipline. People get it twisted because they only understand extremes. They think if a woman steps back, protects her space, or stops responding to chaos, she must be cold, distant, or heartless. But that's not the truth at all. Detachment is evolved energy. It's maturity. It's the point where she stops letting her emotions be controlled by someone who doesn't even control himself. It's not about shutting down, it's about rising up. A woman who practices detachment isn't saying she doesn't feel. She feels deeply, she just refuses to let those feelings push her into places that drain her. She knows how much she brings to the table. She knows her love is heavy, her presence is rare, her support is powerful, and she's not wasting that on someone who treats her like she's ordinary. So she sets boundaries not to block connection, but to protect herself from disconnection disguised as love. Boundaries are the first sign of self-respect. They say, this is how you treat me if you want to stay in my life. She's not building walls, she's building standards. And standards aren't there to chase people away. They're there to reveal who actually belong. A man who wants her will honor those boundaries. A man who isn't ready will complain about them. That's why detachment is necessary. It clears the fog. It exposes intentions. It brings truth to the surface without her lifting a finger. Detachment is self-worth in action. Not the loud kind that needs to announce itself, but the quiet kind that says, I'm not afraid to lose anything that costs me my peace. She's not out here convincing someone to treat her right. She's not begging for consistency. She's not trying to decode mixed signals like it's her responsibility to make confusion make sense. She knows her value, and knowing her value means she's willing to walk away from anything that doesn't align with it. She's not emotionally reactive. She's emotionally disciplined. She doesn't let temporary feelings create permanent decisions. She doesn't respond to everything that tries to provoke her. She's learned to pause, to reflect, to breathe before reacting. She's learned that silence is often more powerful than arguments, and distance is sometimes more honest than explanations. Emotional discipline isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about mastering them. She's not controlled by fear. She's not controlled by loneliness. She's not controlled by validation. She acts from clarity, not chaos. Detachment also means She's done overextending herself. She's not trying to fill spaces someone else left empty. She's not trying to fix someone who doesn't want to grow. She's not trying to love someone into becoming the person they promised she'd get. She loves herself too much to drown in someone else's lack of effort. And that's not cold. That's wisdom. She understands that anyone who loves her will meet her halfway. She knows effort speaks louder than excuses. She knows consistency speaks louder than potential. She knows presence speaks louder than promises. So she steps back, not because she stopped caring, but because she stopped fighting alone. Detachment allows her to see things clearly. When she pulls back, she starts noticing the energy she ignored, the red flags she justified, the imbalance she tolerated. She sees who reaches out, who steps up, who matches her effort, who disappears, and all without her forcing anything. Her boundaries reveal the truth. A woman who practices detachment isn't cold, she's courageous. It takes courage to not chase. It takes courage to not cling. It takes courage to not settle. It takes courage to say, if it's not aligned with my peace, it's not aligned with my life. It takes courage to choose solitude over confusion, clarity over chaos, healing over habit. And when she moves like that, she becomes stronger. She becomes wiser. She becomes someone people respect, even if they don't say it out loud. Because detachment isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally aware. It's about choosing herself, even when her heart wants to choose someone else. It's about standing on her worth, even when her feelings try to shake her. Detachment doesn't make her cold. It makes her clear. It makes her powerful. It makes her whole. Because she's not walking away from love. She's walking towards self-respect.